Boom! Good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are and whatever frame of mind you may be in. My name is Samuel Davis III, and I'm the host of Uplift Our Community podcast, powered by Bridge Visions. Today, we're talking about the cost of always being strong. Many of us were taught that strength means holding everything together, keeping our emotions under control, solving everybody else's problems, and never letting anyone see us struggle. We become the dependable one, the protector, the provider, the listener, the fixer, and the person everybody calls when life falls apart. But who checks on a strong person? What happens when strength becomes a role we are forced to perform instead of a quality we freely choose? What happens when people become so accustomed to our resilience that they stop noticing our exhaustion? Sometimes the strongest people are not okay. They have simply become skilled at functioning while hurting. They smile, show up, handle business, support everybody else, and quietly carry pain that nobody knows exists. Today, we're going to examine the difference between resilience and emotional suppression. We're going to talk about burnout, vulnerability, asking for help, receiving support, and learning that strength does not always mean carrying everything alone. Welcome to Uplift Our Community. Let's get into it. Boom. Okay, let's get it going. What's going on, Jay? How you doing, man? Tell us about yourself. How's your week been?
You know what? It's been filled with all the righteousness that stress can only bring you, my friend. So taking care of the defenseless, protecting the people that have no protectors, just all the adventures that go along with the S on your chest without the benefits of bulletproofness. So that's probably what suggests. All right. Might as well start off heavy.
and we just jumped in the deep end of the pool, people.
All right.
Thanks. What's up there, Gordon? How's everything been going for you? How's your week been?
It's been good. Been busy, and right on topic as far as the burnout stuff. I haven't been burning out. I'm not saying I'm burning out, but I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, I got to do some me time type stuff.
Yes.
And so I actually have this weekend off and I have a little more time for me.
Man to that.
I hear that. Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, Jay, you jumped us and got us jump started. So I'm gonna start off the first question here, starting off with you. We're gonna jump into it. Here we go. What does being strong mean to you? And who taught you that definition?
You know what? I guess I grew up in the rough streets of comic books, so I that's one of those kids that had a lot of brain power and a really, strict mom. So you didn't go out there and get in a lot of trouble. So my code of honor and respect and understanding power and, the good and the bad and ugly, a lot of things came from the ideal world of comic books, which deals with a lot of black and white. All right. And unfortunately, when you get older, you understand that life, it has a lot of gray. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that comes with a price, because especially if you're in the business of protecting, that's what I do with my charity work. I help feed people in food deserts. You'll find people, threats from within and without, that will stand in that way for bureaucracy, capitalism, what have you. And you being strong simply means summoning the strength to get through the tasks that other people aren't able to do. So that's where it is for me.
Okay, that's what's up. I hear that. So comic books. Is that what you're saying? Comic books gave you the strength?
Yeah, you know what? I grew up in a Pentecostal household, so it was always church and what have you. And it was always about the right thing. And, growing up in a single family household, you found yourself being the man of the house and always having to do the right thing and so on and so forth. My brother and sister called me the snitch. So take with that. So the deal is, though, you understand that for growing up in that environment, you're really trained and really honed into the ideal of the greater good. Okay, I can understand what I can do to just have this temporary pleasure, or just goof off, do the stupid stuff or what have you. But then you think about how to serve and protect everybody the best way possible, which is, it doesn't leave time for selfishness in that, as far as that program is concerned. Okay.
All right. Hey, thank you for clarifying that even more so. Appreciate that. G Money, talk to me.
Yeah. You know what? There's one of the things that Jay said really stood out to me, and it's been a big learning for me, is that the world is not black and white, gray. And the way that I understand that is that, when I was younger, and even more recently, but mostly more when I was younger, I would want stuff to be right. Like, I would want people to not be bad, bad, evil, mean, whatever to each other. I want people to, to maybe work together, have more unity, whatever the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you start to get to know the world in your late teens, early 20s, you see, even younger than that, you see how ugly it is. Prior to that, it's maybe more like what's in your neighborhood, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get a little older, you start to, see that it's not just in your neighborhood, that the whole world is kind of ugly in some ways. And one of the ways that has really helped me be strong and get past that is to understand that it's gray. There's, just because somebody does something that you see and you're like, that wasn't right, doesn't necessarily mean they're evil. It just means maybe they're going through a struggle, or maybe their experience, that maybe something was triggered. Who knows, And so that whole idea that the world is gray, that not everything's perfect, or not everything's either perfect or completely evil, is a huge thing that has just helped me be stronger, have more compassion, more tolerance, and things like that, and get through those tough times. And I think that I learned that through just being around others that are maybe we're a little older, but more, not so much age, but maybe a little wiser. Maybe they've been through some stuff, and they have that next level understanding that I needed to learn from. And because you have people around you that you're like, man, they're always happy, they're always in a good mood, and not necessarily in a fake way, but they're genuinely just people with a little more inner peace maybe than you might have. And I always ask that question, like, how are you doing so good right now when so much stuff is happening? And it always goes back to that, that understanding that everybody's got a little good and everybody's got a little bad in them, and sometimes the bad is showing, sometimes the good, and we have to, hopefully, depending on who they are, but we have to love them either way.
Wow. Hey, there you go, Gordon. My goodness, that was a great answer. I think for me, I was going to add this. My father recently passed, and that's where I learned about that strength, or being strong. There was a period in time when I was going through some things, and my father, I remember him telling me, son, our job is to provide. That's what we're here to do. We're here to provide. And at the time, I didn't want to hear that. I was like, man, I don't want to hear that mess. You don't tell me that right while I'm in the middle of it. You tell me that when I'm chilled out and I got the problem solved. Then you tell me about that kind of stuff. But to have that be told to me at that time, it was almost just kind of like, suck it up, get to moving, and then we'll be able to talk about it even more in detail after we're finished. And after you finish that thing. So that's where I got that level. That's why that definition was taught to me. With Jay, I have to say, I was a comic book head too. And man, I love me some Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Let me tell you, I wanted to be like him. I saw things, there in the early Spider-Man comic books, he'd sprain his ankle, or mess his arm up, and he'd be hurt. And there would be times when I would be hurt, and I remember, having a cast, and Spider-Man got hurt, he got over it. I can do this, and he even fought through things, fought villains. So it was always something for me about that from my father, about being told it, and then seeing someone else that I actually really admired, which was Peter Parker. He was a kid my age. He was like me, So I really tied in with that. The next question that I want to ask is, and I'm going to start off with you, Gordon. Here's the next question here. Have you ever felt like people only value you for what you do for them rather than for who you are? And the reason why I'm asking it like that is because at a certain point, you're so strong that people are so used to coming up to you and say, hey, can you do this for me real quick? Hey, can you do this? And being that I happen to be taller than most people and bigger, they always want me around, to hang around. Hey, can you walk me to my car? Hey, can you, and nothing wrong with it. But I used to sometimes I'd be like, why is she calling me? Why is this lady calling me? There was this one time in particular, this woman just kept we were in LA, and she just kept trying to get me to go with her somewhere. And I'm like, what is going on? And I said, look, what do you want? Can you walk me to my car? And as I started walking her to her car, I said, let me walk this lady to this car. And right when we got close to the car, I started smelling urine and all kinds of stuff. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, and she grabbed my hand. And I was like, whoa, what'd she grab my hand for? And it was a homeless guy that was sleeping up right by her car. And she was afraid because she saw him.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know nothing about that. I'm just in my head, why is this chick bothering me? Gotcha. And that's where you say you wonder about when you're being valued. Yeah, I would have grabbed me too and walked to this car. And it's just one of those things. You never know who you are to someone else until you're needed, until it's necessary. So with that being said, Gordon, have you ever felt like people only value you for what you do for them rather than who you are?
Yeah, I think so, because I have been the type of person that has always wanted to say yes, when people need something, when people need this, people need that. And it has been hard in the past, not so much anymore. In the past, it's been hard to say no. It's been hard to tell people, sorry, I can't do that. And sometimes, and I got to a point where I would kind of flip it and almost test them a little bit, and then start asking myself, hey, you know what? I need a little help. Can you this, that, whatever, or can you be at this thing? We're going to do this thing and I need some support or whatever, or can you, whatever, asking nothing major, but little things here and there. And I try to be very observant. And so what will happen is that some will show up and some won't. Right. And that with the previous question is, or my previous response about the world being gray, when I was younger and people weren't responding equally to what I would do for others, it would bother me and get me upset. These people, they just want me to keep doing stuff for them, and they're when I need them, they're not around, or they're not willing, or whatever. And it got to a point where I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to hate somebody just because they're not capable, or for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. Kind of like what you just said. We can only see what we see, and we don't know what that other person might be seeing that's causing them to do or ask or whatever. And so it's just I would protect. There's a saying, I would protect my yeses. Like, I would only say yes when I feel like it's one those things that we reciprocated. And even then, sometimes I'll tell people I can do that, but I don't know if you have a deadline, because it's going to take me a while to do that. I'm not something I'm be able to just drop what I'm doing and go do. And then it's everything. There's degrees. Like, there's some people that I will drop everything and I'll be there. And then there's others that I'll just plain say, sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you with that. I still want to be of value, and I would suggest call this person, reach out to that, or they can do it also, or whatever. But oftentimes it'll be that I'm hooking them up, and they don't want to pay for whatever it is that I'm doing, so they won't go for that other person because they know it's a stranger or whatever. They're not gonna get that hookup. So it's just, I think you just have to be observant, and you have to if the saying applies, you have to take everything with a grain of salt and just say, it is what it is, and and in my head, it's almost like I have rankings and priorities of those people that are really important and those that are they're certain things. I love them and everything, but I'm not going to necessarily give my time 100% all the time.
Right.
I mean, anything that I do almost always means that I'm doing that instead of spending time with my wife or my kids, or I'm doing that instead of making money to bring to the household and provide and all of that. So it's not a light thing where I'm doing that instead of sitting on the sofa binge watching who knows what,
Right.
So my time is valuable, and I understand that, and I value it, and so it all comes together however it comes together. And some people might be patient enough to wait a couple weeks for me to do that favor for them, and some won't, and it's all good.
All right, I hear that. Go ahead, Jay. Talk to me. Have you ever felt like people only value you for what you do rather than for who you are?
Well, not to steal all the information, but I'm just going to go with Gordon's and say ditto. No, but I will add on to this that I thought it was very important what he, far as the time management is concerned, and those boundaries that come with that are very key. I've been in the business of giving for better part of 10 years or so. And I've learned certain truths, and I found it quite interesting that I'll have people that will come to me for help because they know I will help, but they only come when they absolutely need it. Or, like that once in a life, that once experience or whatever, a little bit here and there. And there'll be people that'll come every week, oh, I need this, I need that, what have you. And because that's part of how they work, and I know that some people, you will give everything you have to that person and it will still never be enough, So it is absolutely imperative that you make sure that you look out for yourself. Okay. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're no good to nobody. Okay. And the crux of that question I see, honestly, is really about the context in those relationships. Okay. How much do you really want the people in your job to value you? Okay. Do you want to be the guy that's absolutely indispensable? Studies show that people keep getting promoted and they usually get stuck at the job where they're just so at. Okay. They're going to use you to what they need to get. Okay. And that's where you're going to stay. But then there's another thing. It's like, I missed my barber appointment this weekend. Smart Alex in the audience. It's not the hair, it's just here. So the deal is it's only so much I really care about the relationship between me and my barber. As long as you cut the hair, it's all about the context of that. So with that, I believe that question, part of the subtext is to know those relationships that you put value on and where you want to be in those relationships. Okay. Those are the casual every day, to making sure that your family know they can count on you, that, sisters, brothers, the people in your community, let them know that they can count on you. Okay. And still implied in there is to know those boundaries, So I heard somebody, it was a paraphrase of the statement. It's like, even when it comes to like relationships and so on, is that I'm humble enough to know that I can be replaced, but I'm cocky enough to know you'll miss me.
Hey, that's what's up. I love that one. That was great. That was great. Wow. I want to add. So I want to move on to our next question here. This is and I want to kind of start this one off here, because have you ever hidden your pain? This is going with what you said, Jay. Have you ever hidden your pain because you didn't want to burden someone else? Now, there was a couple years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. and there was some events going on, and I sure did not want to. I didn't tell no one I had cancer first and foremost because I didn't want to hear all the cancer talk. But then they had something going on, and it was like I needed. I couldn't do the things that I could do physically. And so I couldn't tell, they're used to me when they see me coming by, they're bringing chairs. Hey, grab those 6 chairs over there. Hey, grab that keg over here. Bring that, 50-pound block of ice over here. They would ask that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh man, I hate this. I can't do it right now. It hurt. But I try not to make myself accessible for them. I try to hide a little bit. And this kind of goes along with what you were saying, because ultimately what I found out was you need to let people know that you're hurt. And you said it, you hit it right on the head, Jay. You need to take that time for yourself. That's what I did. You need to take that time for yourself. Sometimes you can't always be Superman. You can't always be Spider-Man, and even they need rest. Absolutely. That's kind of like my answer to that question, and so I'd like to present that to you, Jay.
Well, this is probably something where I've been accused of being guilty of more than once, that I don't tell people about my pain. Okay. And so that's, I guess I grew up, having to be, quote unquote strong, and some of the experiences that I had, especially, you think, you have a significant other, wasn't the right mate, but when you show your vulnerabilities, a lot of times when I found some guys that said it as well, they feel like those vulnerabilities are used against them, so it taught me, in maybe not such a healthy way, to keep my pain to myself for the most part. Okay. So I got my family, my media family, what have you. I talk to them. I got a host of beautiful, wonderful cousins and so on, and aunts that I can share with, but for me to have to go into so many battles dealing with systemic issues going on in our community, dealing with people that are in positions where they can't express themselves to fight those good fights. I can't let everybody know where the kryptonite is stored. I have to be strong, quote unquote, so it's I'll be honest, it's a balance I'm working on. Okay.
Hey, I love that, Jay. Perfect.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Being honest. That's what you got to do. You got to be honest with somebody. It's best to be honest with yourself.
That first and foremost. First and foremost. But you know what? I want to interject here because I had one of my friends. He shall remain nameless, but he's still mad at the girl that ticked him off in the 5th grade. Okay. He's in his 50s. So, but the deal is, he even at this stage in life, he is really adamant about not sharing his vulnerability with his significant other, wherever he's dating.
But not sharing his what?
His vulnerabilities with a significant other, his pain and what have you. And I unfortunately, I see his point, but I know it's not a great way to live. Okay. And I hate to say it, but I see a lot of guys that fall into that trap. So I'm not saying I have the answer out there, guys, but be aware that it's out there for us, that dealing with that balance.
You know what, Jay? Thank you for saying that, because that is exactly why we are here today. And that's exactly what Uplift Our Community is all about, having these conversations. You don't have these conversations. Generally, you don't. Most men don't. Maybe women do. And maybe people do. But this is what the whole purpose of what Uplift Our Community is about, because we're a lot more alike than we are different, the way we think. So with that being said, Gordon, G, I was going to call you G. Gordon, have you ever hidden your pain because you didn't want to burden someone else?
So my initial thought is yes, but I don't know so much that it's burdening somebody else. At least the reason, I don't know if it's that. For me, I think it's more so I try to consult people that I trust, but also that I feel will understand the challenge that I'm going through. because different challenges do require different types of, say, levels of experience to be able to understand what can help alleviate. And then sometimes it's just a way to share something. You're not necessarily looking for solutions, responses, answers, help, or anything like that. You just want to be able to maybe get it off your chest or whatever.
Mhm.
And so it's really about maybe the challenge that I'm going through, in my mental Rolodex of people that I feel like I can share it with, who I choose based on that. Because I mean, sometimes, when we make things public, you get a whole lot of responses that, me for one, I don't really want to hear. I guess kind of like what you were saying about, you didn't really share with everybody that you had cancer because you didn't want to hear that cancer talk. And so it's like, if I'm going through some stuff, I'm not gonna, like, I'll see people on, for example, on Facebook, and they're talking about all their problems. In the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, don't do that. For one, I don't want to, me personally, I don't want to be aware of this. But also, you're gonna get a lot of responses and comments, and so I'm more inclined to like be private with my challenges, and but I do reach out. And this is more recently. In the past, I would just hold it in until I burst or whatever. But more recently, I'm inclined to keep them private and only reach out to one or two people that I know, that I feel, because when you reach out to people that for one have been through some stuff and have some kind of a level of say personal growth or development, two, they know your value and they know the growth that you've had, and they know you well enough that they don't just start spitting responses at you and say, oh, you should do this, you should, like, don't tell me what I should do, just hear me out, and maybe I'll ask you specifically about the questions that I want. And so you'll get responses where they understand, and it can be a very valuable, say, conversation or consultation that you can have with somebody. Whereas others that don't necessarily get it, they want to be helpful, and I'm not knocking the intention. The intention's there, but I guess the question is it worth letting people know what you're going through when you're not going to really get anything of value out of that interaction, I guess. Not. And so my initial thing is just, I'm going to keep it private, and I will reach out one-on-one with a couple of people that I trust, that I really feel like I'm going to get value out of that interaction, and it's going to help me get through it. And or if I'm going through something that I maybe have, I reached the point where I got past it and I figured it out or whatever, I might share it because there are other people that may be going through it and might learn or might be able to get value from what I did to get past that obstacle or whatever. Right. But when I'm in that down low rut where I just can't figure it out and things are tough, I usually keep it private. Only one or two people might hear about it.
Okay. Jay, did I bring that with you? Did I run that question by you already? I'm just curious.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I did run it by
Gordon just said it better.
so this is what I like to ask, because this next question is we're not answering. You can't answer this because we're not a woman. But the question is, excuse me. Here we go. I'm sorry. Did I just move that on there? The question, I deleted it. I'm sorry. But the question was basically, do women show it differently than men showing up strong? Do they show up strongly differently than men? When someone says be strong for a woman, is it different than it is for a man?
That's intriguing.
Jay?
Good question.
Thank you. So we definitely need our female cohort.
Let me trying to get that in there. I'm sorry that I erased it because I can't. I wrote the question down and now I'm trying to shake it. But that was the question. Do women get it differently than men? And I'll just kind of expound it myself. So as a man, yeah, we're expected to do things physically, handling things and moving things and protecting things. Whereas a woman, she might be organizing, getting the kids together, doing the internal stuff. You know, she might be pressed or a different way. My wife, plenty of times we go places. There are events that we attend, and they're trying to get things organized, and she'll just jump up and she'll just start organizing it. Ladies, let's get over here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's step over here, this side over here. She'll just jump right into it. And that's a level of strength that she carries with her that's built in within her. Not all women do that, but what she always says is she has a tendency to go, well, why is it every time when there are events happening, I have to be the one to start it or get it going? I'm like, because that's who you are. That's how you are. And I can't do anything about that. That's how you are. So men and women get it differently. It's not like I would, like as I spoke earlier, it wasn't that a woman would have asked my wife to walk her to the car. You know, you want to go to the big person to do that. And that's physically, that's what we can do. But as a woman, what ways and how do you think a woman is approaching that way?
I know this is reminiscent of a conversation I had before, and it works on two levels. For a woman in business, it appears that they want a woman to show up without emotion. Okay. To, you know, just, it's got to be clean, methodical, just, you know, just sterile in how things are given necessarily, just, you know, and in relationships, and this is probably part of the misogyny of some people understanding of relationships, but asking a lot of guys about, you know, relationship issues, you know, it's 9 times out of 10, for better or for worse, for a woman to show up in a relationship, they basically mean silence and support. So I was like, we're going over this cliff. You pretty much just like, okay. You know, like, so that I don't think is necessarily a healthy way to go about it, you know, but it's all about the context of what's going on. But that is the, for other conversations I've had, that seems to be the popular ways in which that question is interpreted. Okay. Like the man, sometimes you just got to go with your gut and do what you're going to do. But, you know, we're judged by every decision we make, you know, for as a man is concerned. You know, that's, you know, we talk about unconditional love. You know, it's like what Chris Rock says, only puppies and babies get unconditional love. You know, you know, so we have to deal with that. But oftentimes I do hear with women, and I'm going to ask this question this weekend with several groups about it for as women showing up in that way, because I am curious, even more so now that you brought it up, and like, what would they actually say about this? Where would they stand on it? Especially if you're actually being conscious of this answer being truly heard. Some people have to step outside and examine a little more. Okay. You know, so that could be a thing, you know, so we'll see.
All right. Gordon?
This is a hard question, being that we don't have any women here, right?
Oh, we got one here now.
Oh, snap!
We got a woman here now. Welcome.
There we go.
Oh, I feel like I'm on an episode of Maury now.
Oh, yeah, she popped up right on time.
That wasn't even
Welcome to Denise. I don't know if you've been
transition or anything.
listening on the conversation. We were a little, what's the word, flummoxed over this question. We were and just right on time. Here you go. We were just asking about do men and women experience the pressure to stay strong differently, and if so, how?
It's your turn.
Yeah. Can you hear? Oh, shit.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got
right.
you.
No,
Okay.
So to be fair to Miss Benz there,
Yes.
did you hear this part before, right before this? Did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Uh-oh.
did.
I gotta go.
So I want to make sure I understand the question. So you're asking, do men and women experience the pressure of staying strong differently? And if so, how? Right? That's the question.
Mhm.
So definitely, I think that we experience it differently because there's different expectations within the sexes, right?
Mhm.
So number one, women are typically the nurturer. That's the role that we've been told since we're little girls, right?
Mhm.
We are making people feel better. We are monitoring people's emotional state. We're making sure that we don't say things that attack their ego, their manhood, their right, all of those things. When people come to our home, it's our responsibility to make them feel welcome. So when we have to be strong, oftentimes our strength is attached to so many other people, our partner, our children, our right. It's like we're like not mother earth, but we are the nurturer. So our strength is we're like an advocate for all of the other people around us, for our village. I think a man's strength is typically being strong in his role as a man. You didn't get the job, man, be strong, right? You having issues in your relationship, be strong. But men are not typically expected to be responsible for the emotional state of the kids. You know, and I'm gonna tell you something.
Uh-oh.
As a woman, I've been wanting to have this conversation with a group of men for a long time. As a woman, we find ourselves talking amongst other women about, oh, well, you know what? I don't want to say it that way because I want to make sure I don't bruise his ego. Like we talk amongst ourselves on how we can edit ourselves to make sure that we don't offend. And I'm like, I wonder, are men sitting around in a group going, man, you know, she looked fat in that outfit, but I didn't want to say nothing because I didn't want to, you know, hurt her feelings. I didn't want to crush her self-esteem. I don't know men that sit around and have dialogue around how to show up in the relationship so that they don't injure the partner. Typically, I find, because I'm the girl that has a lot of male friends, and the men feel like I'm their little sister, so they can talk freely amongst me. Like that's been my whole life. So I hear conversations that most women don't hear, and those conversations are the pleasure of a man. Right? They're looking for what they can get from the woman. They're looking at how to manipulate the woman. They're looking at how to win her over. Like those are the conversations. I've never heard men talk amongst themselves on, man, you know what? She said something to me last week and I realized I got to be a better partner. You got any ideas on like how to, you know, how can I show up stronger in my relationship? I don't hear that. So I feel as a female that our role of being strong is attached to everybody, the kids, the in-laws, the husband, the church people, the children. And I feel for men, it's the role that they're responsible for in the relationship. The head of household, making the money, and occasionally dealing with discipline. Maybe the kids disappointed you because they did something stupid. And you're like, man, hold your head up. You know, you got this, man. But I don't see men carrying the weight of all those different things. So
thank you, Denise. I do want to say that we do have those conversations, and that is one of the reasons why we're having this thing right here, right now.
Just giving you the stink eye.
You know that these conversations are here. Now, I'm not saying that we do this all the time, but I know I was raised around. My father was a Marine, and all I hung around was Marines. And all I heard was that "oorah, go get them" spirit. And at one point, well, several points in my life, I used to be like, is that all it's all about? Is it just hurry up and rush, fight? When do you stop and breathe? And when are you sensitive to, like myself? I was a young child, and I say hear and see stuff, and do these guys ever cry? My goodness, I'm crying over it by myself, and nobody feels this stuff. I didn't know about emotions. I didn't know what was going on because I was so used to hoorah, go up this hill, hit this hill, shoot this gun, do the. I was so used to that, and I was wondering if I was weird. And we do have those conversations. It's just that they're not in places, and that's why we are here. So I want to get this because I want to bring that subject up to Gordon, because we started with Gordon until you bless us with your presence. And I've just left that with Gordon. So now Gordon's turn to kind of answer this question and tell us what his ideas on that and what he thinks about that question.
Yeah, so I started with it being a hard question because there's no women in the group. But so I would never try to give a perspective that I don't represent, right? And in this case, a woman's perspective, I wouldn't do that. But I think that in my experience, you know, like I look back at being a kid, and I would say that my household had some traditional, stereotypical things going on, I guess, because my dad, old school Mexican, you know, just to an extent, while at the same time very open-minded on certain things, but was kind of not, he wasn't military, but he was that, you know, just push through it, man up, you know, don't show your weakness, don't show your emotions,
Right.
don't, you know. And then my mom was very much nurturing. My mom was very much, you know, let's talk about it. How did that make you feel? Was it this and that? But all that said, I still, you know, I still am the kind of person, and this goes back to the question before, I'm still the kind of person that will hold back or cover up my challenges, my pains, or whatever. And my response to that question was that there are people that I have relationships with that I trust, and that trust is mutual, and I am able to talk with on these things to get, you know, advice or thoughts or perspective. But for the most part, when I'm going through something, I'm not going to openly share it with everybody in the world and just say, oh yeah, this is happening, I'm going through this, blah blah. I won't do that, partly because I don't want to show my weakness, I guess, but at the same time because I also don't want responses from everybody, you
That's
know.
right.
So it's kind of a hard one as far as trying to say, you know, do women and men experience it differently? I would say yes, but I think a lot of it has to do with, and you said this, is what we're told because of the gender that we are, what we're told growing up, and what we've been told for hundreds of years as to what we're supposed to be because we're male or because we're female or because this or because that. So it's almost like a pendulum, I feel like, where it's been pushed to one side and now it's starting to come back, and now some of those traits are being swapped, and now you know some women will be, from what I've seen, that I'm going to hold back my feelings and just show my strong face because it is a vulnerability, and rightfully so, because there are people that will attack those vulnerabilities or use them against somebody. And more power to anybody that strategically covers that up. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I heard you say that earlier. I was actually listening when you were having that conversation, and I was thinking to myself that we're all wired differently, right? So I can respect someone like you that says, I'm not trying to put my business in the street. I don't want people to know what's going on with me. You know, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be affected by their negative input, right? Then you have some people that are so analytical. They're so hard on themselves. They're so, I call it like being close to it. When I coach my clients, I'm like, I have them hold their finger out. And I'm like, it's not that I'm so much more brilliant than you are as a coach. It's that your finger is on the tip of your nose. And this is the perspective that you can see. I have an elevated view. So that being the case, some people, the way they process is to emote, is to talk out loud, because one, they're part of them, just like you don't want judgment, they're seeking validation. They need someone else to say, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I can relate to that. And then it calms their nervous system and they go, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. right?
Mhm.
So the very thing that causes you to press pause is the very thing that they lean into because it calms them down. So we have to consider that we're all wired differently, and then allow grace and mercy in our judgment of one another. I used to have this phrase. I say, I don't know why this person did that. I treat people the way I want to be treated. That used to be my phrase. Like, I would never do that. And one day God spoke to me and said, who told you that your way of being treated represents all of humanity?
Yep.
I was like, what? Like literally it felt like a whisper. And I kind of responded like, what? And then I heard it slowly and I began to process it. I'm like, I guess not everybody wants to be like, if you ask me to do something, if you say, Denise, yeah, that box by the door, can you put that in the car? Now, you might get up and go get the box and put it in the car. You know what I'm gonna do? Well, what's in that box? Is it do I need to get like a dolly to move it? Like, can I move it by myself? How soon do you need it right now? Is it, how important is that? Now, what is it for? Because I like to have all the information, not because I'm judging you, not because I don't want to do it, because I'm a natural refiner. So the way that I'm wired, I can't turn it off. I naturally can look at something and figure out how to make it better. So I'm going to figure out, is there something else I can do to support you? You're saying you want it in the car, but if you tell me, oh, yeah, I want to put it in the car because I want to make sure I don't forget it. Those are the cupcakes for the blah, blah, blah. Okay, I need that information because guess what? Maybe I'm not going to put it in the trunk because they might melt. Maybe I'm going to point out to you that it's still sunny. Is it okay? Can I do it at the end of the night when the sun goes down? You see what I'm saying? So we're all wired differently. And unfortunately, we filter people's behavior through our own psyche. And we go, I would never do that.
Right.
That we got to give each other more grace and mercy. Because one, they don't think the way we think, and two, you don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, that's real. I heard it said that everybody brings their autobiography to a conversation. Okay, so they only see it from their point of view, with their life history, their experiences. Okay, so unless you get that that car that hits you out of nowhere, you don't know what's going on. You're just stuck in that lane. That's where it is. And that's even when we get down to the whole deal, which, I mean, you could build an entire show, and plenty of people have, on the different experiences that men and women have on the same topic, for as how they're treated, because, for as the matriarchy, all that is concerned, for as patriarchy, the male house leadership, for as the misogyny, for as the old and the new, all those things can make all these interesting decisions, what have you, but choices, I should say. The crazy part for me, and I think where a lot of people, quote unquote, get lost in the quote unquote sauce, is that we find that we just got to a point where we stop listening to the other person. We just stop.
Yeah.
We've been weaponized against each other, men and women.
Preach.
Culture. We've been weaponized against each other. We're taught not to work with each other. We're taught not to trust each other. We're taught to just, if it's not in front of your face, it isn't real. There is no trust. Okay. There is no building dynamic. And some communities are hit harder than others, keeping it 100. Okay. And far as what is going on right now, we're so mired in our own pain, we forget the person that we're supposed to count on is drowning too. And we gotta help. We gotta start getting back into the whole unity of us. We have to get back to that. Bless your heart, you have a significant other, you gotta check in. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna do your date nights, you're gonna do all that. I get it. That's cool. That's awesome. But you know what you gotta do? You gotta really be honest about your mental health. Okay. I read this report talking about, I probably mention it at least once a week with one group or another, that perimenopausal and menopausal issues are causing such a severe health crisis in America. Okay. A lot of people are not being treated. They're not doing hormone therapy. They don't know what's going on. Fibroids, all this. You have really great people, but they're not together anymore because they don't understand that there's something bigger than them that's attacking them. Okay. you know. So we have to get back to the point where we can really not just talk, not talk at them, but actually have a conversation with our mates and with the people that we want to be with, and the people that we especially hold in our support circle. You know, because I dealt with some friends before, and I'm just like, we'll be around somebody we don't know, and they'll like, you hear this crazy news, you're like, dude, you didn't tell me that. Oh, it didn't come up. I'm like, what? Yeah, I didn't know you was dealing with this. What's going on? Because they're used to a certain mode. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times the people that you're closest to are the hardest ones to talk to. But we have to look at it's a state of emergency for mental health. We have to just set the alarm and say, you know what, we're open for business to listen and be there for each other.
There you go, Jay. There you go. See, you have answered about 3 or 4 questions between you and Denise just now that I had lined up here to keep this thing moving. But to keep it moving, I'm gonna jump with you, Gordon. I'm gonna ask you this question right here. How do we know the difference between resilience and simply suppressing our emotions? And I think that kind of goes along with what Jerome was just talking about, because the question I was going to ask that Denise and Jay kind of brought up was, I was going to ask about, when does that strength become unhealthy? When does it become unhealthy? And
bruh, I'm half Vulcan. You hear me? I got rid of emotions in 19.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Emotions are real, and that's the whole thing about it. They are real, and we having these conversations because I know I get emotions, and when there was a period of time when I was trying to find out who I was. I started going online and I'm looking up my signs and horoscope and what does this mean for this sign and how does it affect with the moon and the stars and all these different thoughts and things are going on. And as I started understanding things, they started kind of coalescing for me. But Jay, you mentioned earlier, there's an internal thing where I can listen to myself, but now I got to take it outside. I got to take it outside of my realm. I can't just keep it to myself. Now I got to be able to express to my partner that I'm having these issues, that I'm having these thoughts, that these things are going on. Can you help me so we can help each other or whatever? So with that being said, I'm jumping over things, but Jerome, Gordon, how do we know the difference between resilience and simply suppressing our emotions?
When I first read this question, I was thinking it has a lot to do with knowing yourself. It has a lot to do with knowing when, I'll go back to a song from my childhood, whether your mind's playing tricks on you or not, right? Because, it's really about, because I'll get into my own head and I'll be going through some challenges. And you can't imagine how creative I can be on the negative side. Like, oh, does this mean that? Does that mean that? Is that going to mean that it's going to be like this? Is it? Oh my gosh, I can go through this deep, deep wormhole of just negative thinking. And is it all possible? Sure, it's all possible. Is it very likely? Probably not. And I really have to get out of that. And I got to catch it. And I got to catch it and say, okay, step back a little bit. It's almost like you have to come out of yourself and look at yourself and say, okay, what's going on? If somebody else was going through this challenge, what would you advise them to do with that detachment there? Because to me, that as Denise was saying, when you're that close to the problem, you're not seeing the whole thing. Excuse me. And when you don't see the whole thing, it's hard to address that. It's hard to look at it fully and really be able to give yourself the best advice, but then also be able to share with others, those that you trust that maybe have been through some stuff too, and get some good advice and get out of your own head and know when to take a break, know when to go to the beach, know when to go for a hike in a trail at a park or whatever, know when to surround yourself with loving people, and sometimes where you just have to be on your own. But I think it just all falls back to knowing yourself. Sometimes you know that you're going through some stuff and you're going to be fine, and sometimes it gets the best of you, and you start thinking that all hell's gonna break loose, and it's not really that bad, So those are some of the thoughts that I had when you asked that question.
Go ahead, Denise.
Someone asked me this same question in regards to my book after reading the book. And they're like, so what's the difference between the two? And I think that resilience is the ability to acknowledge that something has happened and to push through it to get to the other side, to kind of stay steadfast, where suppression is to push down the emotions associated with the thing that's happening. And that's where it becomes dangerous because you're pushing it down. You're not processing it. You're not talking about it. You're not even acknowledging it, right? Resiliency is about understanding the lay of the land of where you are and then pushing forward to get through it. That's the story of my life. I ask people, like, what is the word that comes up for you after reading this book? And 9 times out of 10, resilience will come up. And it surprised me. I was like, resilience? And like, yeah, you had faith, you had this, but you're resilient because your situation was relentless. It just kept going and going and going. And somehow you can't, like, you never wavered. So,
well, I got a question from Ms. Benz about resiliency.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have a book you recommend on resiliency, or maybe mentioned inside of that anywhere?
There's an excellent book that is a very good read. It's called Only My Face Was Smiling.
Oh, tell me more.
Only My Face Was Smiling. Faith carried me. Secrecy almost broke me.
Okay.
And
okay.
That's the tagline of the book. And it's a book about resiliency. It's a book about how to push through crazy things that can happen in your life. And it shows you that what you've come through, what you've gone through doesn't define your future. And that really is the foundation of being resilient, is recognizing like, this is for a moment. I'm just because this happened, it's not going to define me.
Understood. Where can one get this book?
You can go to onlymyfacewasSmiling.com and get it online. You can go to DeniseBenz.com and get it online.
Okay, thank you kindly. I appreciate that. All right.
Thank you for that soft pitch right there, Jay. I really do appreciate that. And as we try to keep things moving on, because we do not.
Wait, one more thing. This moment was brought to you by asthma.
Oh my goodness.
Go on.
To keep things going. Here's the last question, and I'm going to ask you all to briefly answer this question because we don't want to leave people left on a limb. If someone listening today feels exhausted from always being strong, what would you want them to hear? Gordon, you like to start us off?
I see Gordon. I see Gordon.
You see Gordon scratching his head. I would say you are amazing because you don't know how many people you're holding it down for.
There you go. Awesome. Jay?
It's okay to mess up. It's okay to fail. In the end, you're going to be better. You're going to get through this. But it does not all depend on the next breath, the next day. You will persevere. You will be fine. Have faith.
All right. There we go. How about Miss Denise? Tell us.
I would want them to hear, I want you to grant yourself permission to pause and be present with where you are, not showing up for anybody else. I want you to know that you have permission to do that. I know it sounds a little odd, but sometimes people feel like they don't have the right to stop. And just us pointing out, like, listen, no, stop. You have the right. It does wonders for a person because, we're in our head thinking we got to keep going. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. So another hour has went between us. So I'm going to give our closing words, everyone, and thank you all for coming. Being strong should not require you to become invisible. You are allowed to be dependable and still need support. You're allowed to be resilient and still become tired.
Mhm.
You're allowed to help others without sacrificing your own emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. Strength is not measured by how quietly you suffer or how much pain you can hide. Real strength also includes honesty, boundaries,
Mhm.
rest, vulnerability, and the courage to say, I cannot carry this by myself anymore. Sometimes the strongest thing you will ever do is allow someone else to help carry the weight. Up until next time, keep uplifting yourselves, keep uplifting each other, and keep uplifting our community.